What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the CrazyFaceUno Podcast, where everyone has a story and everyone's story matters. What's your story? In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, we want to let you know that we'll be donating 100% of our sales and donations at CrazyFaceUno.com, that's CrazyFaceUno.com, to the World Central Kitchen, founded by Chef Jose Andres. Together is how we defeat this invisible enemy. With that said, I'm your host, Shane McNeely, and boy, are you in for a treat today. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our guest today. Please welcome Christopher Hartley. Welcome, Christopher.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We first met, it was probably like 2011.
Yeah, I think it was about 2011.
Yeah. It's related to Invisible Children. So if you're listening and you're like, man, this guy, he's got to like stop having guests from Invisible Children, like got to stop talking about it. But we lived in San Diego. By far our favorite place to go was Sushi Deli downtown San Diego. And Christopher, I'm going to, just so everybody knows, I'm going to call you CJ probably throughout this podcast, but CJ you were waiting at the Sushi Deli, and that's how we kind of got to know you. We were in there frequently, drinking excessively, potentially, and you were always our favorite waiter. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed working there, and I enjoyed having you guys. You guys were always fun.
Yeah. We always like to have a good time. It was that's for sure. We always like to have a good time. But that was the first time we met. I think we hung out maybe all together, maybe once. I know we didn't really get to spend much time, like getting to know each other back in San Diego days before, I kind of took off, and a lot of us kind of came and went there for a while. But I don't really know you very well, Christopher, but I was scrolling through, social media like we've all been doing endlessly since this pandemic has taken over our lives. And you're living in New York right now. And what part of New York?
I'm in Manhattan, in West Village in Manhattan.
Cool. Yeah, and I saw you made a post that said, hey, I haven't said much about it, but, I've came down with COVID-19 and I've recovered and I'm doing well. And I was like, whoa, that's the first person that I know, that I know of at least, that has the virus and came out on the other end of things. And we reached out and wanted to have you on the show and kind of hear your story and kind of how this all unfolded. And I don't know, I just wanted to be able to give everybody the opportunity to kind of understand what you went through, at least. I know that there's, varying degrees and varying different details and experiences that people have had throughout this process, but we wanted to get your take and kind of your side of the story and kind of what New York was like. Before we kind of get into that, I want to catch up with you. I want to know kind of like what you're up to, like vocationally, and I know you've got some other projects and other things that you're very interested in and very involved in. So I would love to kind of hear a little bit more about that. So why don't we start off with kind of fill us in. What are you doing for work these days? I know it sounds like you're still working.
Yeah, I am a software engineer, so I'm able to work from home.
Nice.
Which is nice. A lot of people here don't have jobs at the moment, so I'm grateful to have a job.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's been nice. Just working on my small desk in my teeny apartment.
Yeah, I know. My wife and I we've been working from home. I do this from home. And this is kind of what I've been dedicating my life to in the last, 9 months or so. And my wife she's amazing. She's kicking ass, and she supports our family, and she's working from home too. So we're kind of working out of the same space these days. And I got podcasts, throw it on the schedule, and she's like, all right, I'll take my computer and go in the other room. And it's got this little desk, just like you were talking about, this little desk in our like, spare bedroom, and we're like, all right, see you later. So.
It's a perfect setup then.
Yeah.
Whatever works.
I know, it is. You just kind of got to go with the flow. I always find it funny right now, you see all these different interviews and people's kids coming in, and I guess I understand, but I don't quite understand why people get so like embarrassed that their kid comes in. It's like, it's kind of endearing in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, cool. Like they're human, like you don't have to be above like being human. Like you're like the rest of us. So cool,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Software engineer. How long have you been doing that?
So I've been a software engineer for maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Cool.
But I've only been in New York actually for about 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved here from Utah.
Okay.
About 1.5 years ago.
Cool. Are you from Utah?
Yeah, I grew up in California and Utah.
Okay.
Kind of moved back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
But I went back to Utah to study computer science.
Nice.
After Sushi Deli.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you miss San Diego ever?
I do, but I really love New York, so
yeah,
I feel more at home here.
Cool.
I do miss the beach.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I moved away from San Diego, and I immediately moved basically I went and spent like a month and a half with my family in Indiana, and then I immediately moved to like St. Paul, Minnesota, basically. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the it was like a record-breaking like amount of negative 20-degree days or something stupid the first winter that I was there. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what decision did I just make? And yeah, I lived there for 6 years. And then just this last 9 months ago, basically, or 8 months ago, back July, August of 2019, my wife and I moved to South Florida. So now we find ourselves South Florida and back to the beaches, and I like it. The weather's a little bit better.
A lot better.
Yeah. It's Friday. What is it? The 10th today when we're recording. So if you're listening to this, I'm going to post it on Tuesday this next week. So if you're listening to this, it was Friday. But yesterday on Thursday, it was a high of 94 degrees here in South Florida. It was it was one of those things that I was willing to take that on for the rest of the country, and just want to. Just everybody to know like that 94 degrees was a little warm. I know some St. Paul, some Minnesota people had some snow yesterday, but we took on the 94 degrees. So don't worry. We took one for the team.
I'm jealous.
I know. I'm just trying to rub it in a little bit. It's about the only thing I can rub in right now. So, CJ, you are a very fit man.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes. You have transformed your body since the last time I saw you, for sure. And it's awesome. It's really cool.
Thanks, yeah.
How did you find you want to talk a little bit about this? I know you're into fitness. You're into kind of working out, and it's a hobby or a passion of yours. Maybe I don't know exactly the extent of it, but it's impressive. You have a very fit body.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hobby of mine. I was thinking maybe one day competing in bodybuilding, but We'll see if that happens. It's a lot of work, and I don't know if I want to put the time into that. For sure. But it's a fun hobby. I think back when I knew you, I was probably 40 pounds lighter. So
really,
I'm about 200 pounds right now, and back then I was probably like 160. So I put on a lot of muscle, I think, since then. Yeah. And it was just became a hobby of mine to just try and get bigger, and just like bodybuilding in general, trying to perfect like my physique. Yeah. It's been a good hobby. A long time to actually see progress, I guess. Like it's not as easy as it looks, at least for me. Yeah. But yeah, I very much enjoy working out. It kind of is a de-stressor for me as well.
For sure. I have a lot of friends that are that way. One of my best friends from college, he was in our wedding, Joel Hartzell, hasn't been on the show yet, but he's the same way. He always talked about, growing up and in college and whatnot. He was like, it's like therapeutic for me. It's relaxing. Like, it's something that I enjoy, and like I need to do it. Otherwise I like kind of feel off, and it helps like me to decompress and to relax. And it's like, cool, man, go do it. Like do your thing. That's awesome. When did you start? When did you kind of make that transition, or has it been something you've been kind of interested in for a while, or how did that come about?
I've always been interested in it my whole life, but it just, it was always difficult for me to be persistent in it, actually. Yeah. And so, like, I would work out hard for like a month, and then I'd just kind of get sick of it, and then move on to other things. Or like just sticking with the eating was hard because you have to eat right.
Yeah, for sure. What kind of diet do you, kind of prescribe to, or what's your nutrition kind of look like?
So right now it's mostly protein, and like like I have protein and vegetables with like every meal almost. Yeah. Right now I'm trying to gain some more weight, so I have a little bit higher carb intake right now. Sure. But yeah, so like mostly just a ton of protein, like eggs, chicken, just yeah.
It's funny because I think that specifically over the last several years, we've really moved fitness, athletics, nutrition in general has really moved to off of a lot of the carbs. I mean, not completely getting rid of them, but kind of talking less about processed carbs and more about, kind of the clean carbs and eating clean. Yeah. And, when you look at fitness and you want a lean body, and you got to remove the carbs. That's just part of it. And it's interesting. I think there's been a lot of movement, a lot of, learning that's been done in nutrition in the last several years that maybe is propelled people. And I don't think it's like a new secret. It's just it's something that's kind of permeated our society a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so.
What about, is cardio a part of, or is it just like the lifting?
So I was doing cardio every day. Mm-hmm. Walking on an incline is actually what I prefer doing. I don't like running. Yeah, it's not my favorite thing. And so the best thing for like to get your heart rate up and to lose fat is to walk on an incline. Okay.
Plus you tone up the legs and the glutes.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of haven't been doing that as much the last few months because I count walking to work as a cardio. Yeah. So yeah. I should probably get back to it. Sure. Trim up a little more, but I will in the summertime maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. New York, very walkable city. Yes. Pretty. I mean, you said you walk to work. How far is work from your place?
It's about a 25-minute walk.
Cool. So it's not bad.
I don't always do it. Yeah, it's about a 20-minute subway like ride. Sure. Because I actually have to walk. The way that I have to walk to the subway, it just makes it almost the amount of time that it would take to walk. So
figures,
sometimes, right? I prefer just walking.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I could feel that. It's almost more hassle to like try to go through any other way. Public Might as well just public transit. Might as well just walk that extra 5 miles and do whatever. But yeah, I guess exactly. I was kind of wanting to lay that out there, just kind of understanding you take care of yourself. You're in pretty good shape. You're in a good place physically, and I think that's maybe important to understand before we kind of jump into the COVID-19 stuff. But how is New York right now? just as a whole. I was looking this morning, and I believe New York just surpassed, over 160,000 cases. We've got well over 400,000 cases in the United States of COVID-19. And, it sounds like there's some good news coming, from what I've heard. But we're still got a lot of question marks, still got a lot of unknowns with how things are going and how this is going to unfold over the next, several weeks. But how would you describe New York right now? How has it kind of transformed over the last month and a half, per se?
Yeah. I mean, it's completely different than like a month and a half ago before like the lockdown started.
Yeah.
Everyone was just living their life just as normal. Even though we kind of knew about COVID, some people did self-isolate.
Yeah.
At that point. But a lot of people just didn't really realize how big of a deal it was.
Sure.
Because
when would you say that started to happen? When people started...
like when people started to self-isolate, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some coworkers that did that. I think it was probably the end of February.
Cool.
I had a couple coworkers that live with their elderly parents or like visit their elderly parents, whatever. And they just didn't want to have the chance of passing it on to them.
Sure.
And so they decided to self-isolate. But I mean, I was watching the numbers daily just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Seeing like the number of cases, and it went from like 6 to like 22 in a couple days.
Right.
And it just, like, that doesn't seem like that much. But,
no, but when you look at statistically,
yeah,
like 6, that's a lot. That's like 3 times, that's growth, 300% growth, I mean, plus.
Yeah. And so like, for me, I didn't even think about it that much, to be honest. I was like, this is crazy, but like, I'm not going to get it. Like,
right.
Whatever. Like, it's not going to happen to me,
Yeah.
Type of a thing. And then like a week after that is when they basically, I think it was like a week or 2 after that I saw that it was, the numbers were so much bigger, and they decided to do like a lockdown in the city, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the official kind of like declaration of like the lockdown in New York? Do you remember?
Let's see. It's hard to remember with all of the.
Yeah, there's just
the days are kind of bleeding together.
I'm with you. I had a friend that posted something. It was like, I don't know who needs to see this today, but today's Wednesday, and that was like on Wednesday, and I was like, oh, it's Wednesday. Like, raise my hand. I needed that. Yeah, they definitely are blending together.
Yeah, I think the official lockdown. They started to, close down stores and everything. I believe it was probably like mid-March, so not too long ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's the 10th today. Yeah, probably almost a month ago, I guess.
Yeah.
That's when they started to really like get serious. I remember at first, like, just random bars decide to not be open.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so strange. I'm like, why are they doing that already? Like, we're not in lockdown yet. But I mean, now that I look back, everything should have been shut down a lot earlier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, I think everything really should have been shut down a lot faster, and because New York is like the perfect place for a virus to spread.
Yep.
Because everyone is so close together. Mm-hmm. Everyone takes public transit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And even if you don't, you're walking, and everybody knows that the New York sidewalks and streets it's busy. It's the way of life. It's just how it works. So you're kind of right. Like, it's no big surprise, and that's kind of how it developed in some ways, based on just how the life of New Yorkers,
Mm-hmm.
Very close, small apartments, lots of people, and hindsight's always 20/20, and I think we could even say the same for our country. If we are learning a lot more, if we would have shut things down, if we'd have prepared a little bit sooner, we'd be looking at something different. It doesn't mean that we wouldn't have, similar numbers at the moment, but I think the recovery would be different and things would look a little bit differently for sure. It's hard, right? I mean, I do not envy anybody that is in leadership, in politics and political leadership right now. I can't imagine what they're going through.
Yeah.
It's hard. And especially in New York, is it Cuomo? Did I say it right? Cuomo. Man, he seems to be handling things, maybe they're late to the party, but it seems to be handling things quite well.
Yeah, he's amazing. He does like a live speech, whatever, every day.
Yeah.
And he like talks about the numbers and where things are going. Mm-hmm. And he's been amazing. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I feel like the whole world's kind of, watching New York and following him for sure and kind of listening to those things. I know a lot of my friends have been like, wow, like, man, he's done a really great job. And I think that's really cool. I think it's cool to see people kind of celebrate those successes and just how people are handling things. I really love how he's open and honest, and he's not kind of like pulling punches. He's telling you the truth, but he's also he's hopeful. He's definitely holding the morale, and he's leading people well, I think. And I love watching the interviews with him and his brother, and they're joking back and forth. It really humanizes things and makes them feel like, kind of like we said in the beginning, it just kind of, I don't know, it makes you feel like, hey, we're in this together, and we're all human, and we've all had brothers and sisters and families and grew up. And honestly, that's part of what this podcast is all about. And I know we're kind of altering things a little bit just because of the times, but that's really been a focus of our podcast, is showing that we're all human and uniting us, that we come from similar backgrounds, and even the things that are different, it's still a lot of similarities. And I think that's important, that no matter who you are, no matter, what your religious views are, your political views, your sexual orientation, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. It's not important. What's important is that we do truly all have a story, and all of our stories matter. And I think that at the end of the day, I hope, and I'm very hopeful, that maybe we'll start to see that as a society, as we continue to grow and continue to work through this, unprecedented time.
Yeah.
Well, CJ, jump into maybe start to kind of like lay out the picture of, when did you start to feel sick? What did that look like? And kind of paint that picture of how this kind of all started to ramp up for you.
Okay, yeah. So it was about, I think it was the 16th, Monday, the 16th of March, that I had my first symptoms. It was my first day working from home. And like, I was just having trouble concentrating. Like, I felt like I was coughing a lot, and I thought maybe it was just, first day working from home. Yeah. Maybe like there's dust in the air. I didn't really think much of it. It just seemed like I was coughing too much though. Yeah. And like, I remember making a comment to my coworker, like, oh, I've been coughing a lot. I wonder, I wonder why. And I didn't even think it would be like COVID. Like, I didn't think much of it. And the next day, I felt horrible. Like, I still tried to work from home. Mm-hmm. And I was just still coughing a lot. And I had a mild fever that day. And
if I jump in here, sorry, CJ.
Yeah, go ahead.
Both things. So cough and mild fever. What could you describe your cough? I know this is maybe more personal, but like, what was that like? Here, for instance, like for the last month and a half, it's spring, there's pollen everywhere. I have allergies, so I wake up every morning, I'm congested, and I think a lot of people, that I've talked to are going through similar things. You might even hear it a little bit now, like I'm a little congested. I've had it for a long time. This is my life. I take an allergy pill every day. So I know what that cough is like, you know? I know what that is, and it goes away. It's not here forever. It's not COVID-19. But what was that cough like? You know, obviously it kind of snuck up on you. You didn't think anything about it at first, but what was that like?
So I actually cough a lot as well. Like I have allergies almost all the time. So it did seem a little different just because it felt more dry than anything. Like it just felt like my throat didn't hurt.
Yeah.
It didn't really feel like I had any phlegm or anything. Like usually if I have a cough, it's because of allergies, which has more of like a phlegm in it or something. But this was just like a dry, like my throat didn't feel dry. It just felt like a dry cough. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Like, I just felt like I had to cough constantly, but not for any reason.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then fever, as far as fever wise, is that, you know, what was your temperature? What was that mild fever?
So it was never past 101. I think the highest was 101.2 or something like that.
Okay.
So
you had some chills.
Not too high.
You felt it.
Yeah. I definitely felt, more than anything, I felt actually the like chills and like body aches.
Yeah.
And like the weird thing with all of that though, so like the first 3 days that I was getting those, it would come and go, and it would be like, oh my gosh, I feel so sick, I can't leave my bed type thing. Like my body just hurts, and I would just lay in bed and like not want to move, and like not even want to watch TV. Like my eyes hurt from maybe the fever. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Like
I would just lay there. But then a few hours later or however long later, I would feel completely normal and feel like I was ready to do whatever. Like I could work out or anything. And so it was very strange because it felt like I was over it. Like, oh, this can't be COVID because I'm better. Yeah. And then like the next day or a few hours later, I would just feel horrible again. So the fever, coughing, body aches. I also had a few other weird symptoms that I don't know are normal, but like I had an earache at the beginning, which when I talked to the doctor, she said that, I mean, it's a virus, so that could happen. But I think it's different for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And, interesting.
Yeah.
When did you go to the doctor?
So I called, where I work, I'm lucky enough to have doctors on site. And so I called into the health center on Wednesday because that's when I was feeling kind of the worst. Yeah. That Wednesday. And I thought since like I was having these ups and downs at that point, it might be wise to call them and see what's up. And she said like to keep an eye on my symptoms, and that it actually did sound like it was COVID because of these ups and downs. Yeah. Most viruses or like the flu, you get really, really bad. And then once you start feeling better, you're better. Yeah. Whereas they've seen with this, right, it does have that kind of roller coaster type thing. Yeah. And at that point they didn't really, I still don't think they know that much about it, but she said just to keep an eye out on my breathing. And if I have any breathing issues, then I should probably go to the hospital. Yeah. And so I just decided to stay in and rest for a few more days. And I actually did start having breathing issues about Friday. Okay.
And so from March 16th, that was your first symptoms. And then what was the Friday? Do you remember the date?
I guess that would be, what would that be? The 20th, 21st? I don't have a calendar in front of me. I can't do math right now.
That's fine. So it was, 4 or 5 days in that you started to notice the the breathing issues. Was that like a tightness in the chest?
No, I think that Wednesday is when I started to feel just kind of heavy-ish in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I can explain it. Like, it wasn't like I was having problems breathing, and it was more just like it didn't feel tight; it just felt heavy. That's the only way I can think to explain it.
No, it's totally fine. I get it. We get it.
And to be honest, like I wasn't sure, like it was just anxiety of like everything that was happening.
Yeah.
And like making it harder to breathe or whatever. So I didn't really think much about it at first. But then like it did end up being more difficult to breathe. And,
was it like just shortness of breath? Couldn't take a full breath? That kind of thing? Or?
Yeah. So like the breathing problems mostly came, when kind of moving around at all, or just it's kind of weird when I was eating. It was difficult to breathe. Like I'd be out of breath, like I had just ran like a mile just from like taking a few bites of food. Sure. It was very strange. Sure.
Was appetite still there? I mean, you're eating. I know a lot of times, at least for me, when I'm sick, I'm not. You don't always have that appetite. Did appetite go away, or was that something that was still present?
For me, it did kind of go away, but actually, wait, no, I take that back. It did go away a lot at that point. Like around that Friday is when like my appetite went away completely. Yeah, that's when I lost the sense of smell and taste as well. Yeah, which is such an interesting like symptom, smell and taste. What I know that's pretty self-explanatory, but like, what does it mean to lose your sense of smell and taste? It's weird. Like you would think it'd be more noticeable at first, but it wasn't. It took me a minute to realize like, oh wait, I can't smell anything right now. Yeah. Like cooking food and being like, wait, I can't smell this. So like for me, like I thought maybe I was being crazy, and I would grab some cologne that I have and like sprayed it right in my face. Yeah. And I couldn't smell any of it at all. I'm like, okay, wow. I definitely lost it completely. Yeah. And so you go to the hospital and you're like, man, you smell great, man. Like, yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. That's crazy. I like, that's like a really interesting side effect or symptom that we've heard, and you're like listing all of the like symptoms, and which is kind of interesting too, the ones that are like the people talk about the most. And it's interesting. I've wondered what that was kind of like, or what that experience would be like. Yeah, it's actually really strange too, like not being able to taste. Like you can tell that something's sweet in a way, but it doesn't have any flavor, or like I could taste that it was like salty, but no flavor. Huh. It was very strange. You can get like the base flavor of it, I guess. Yeah. Wow, that's wild. Yeah. Where's your head at during this time? We're since March 16th to March 20th, 21st, that Friday. That's like it's got to really mess with your brain and with your mind. Where are you at mentally and emotionally? I think for the most part I was just sleeping. Yeah. And like kind of out of it, to be honest. Yeah. And so for the most part I was okay, like whatever, I'm just going to rest and get better. And so mentally I was just kind of too exhausted to really think of anything. If that makes sense. No, it is. But then like my breathing did get worse in the weekend. Okay. And that's when I kind of started to freak out. Yeah. Because breathing's kind of important. A tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah. And so I actually ended up going to the ER just because I didn't know what else was open. Yeah. Just to actually get tested and to see if there was anything that they could do for me for the breathing issues. Mm-hmm. And the reason I should probably say the reason why I went to the ER is because I actually got a package at my door, and I went downstairs to get it, and I was bringing it upstairs, and I could barely walk up the stairs. Like I was struggling to get up one flight of stairs, and when I got into my apartment, like I was so exhausted, like out of breath, exhausted. Like I just laid down on the floor and I like passed out for 1 second.
Wow.
Because I couldn't breathe, and it was kind of scary. And so I thought at that point, that's probably a good reason to go and, you know, see what's going on, see if there's anything they can do for me.
I would agree with you. I think you made the right decision.
Yeah. But it was kind of weird going to the hospital. I kind of felt like I felt bad because I didn't want to take resources from, you know, people that might be older or sick. Mm-hmm. But I was worried about myself, so I hope that's okay.
I think it is. I mean, that's. I think I don't know. I feel the same way. You know, like I don't want to be. I think one of the big things, and this I think should be something you think about personally, but man, like I don't want to go out and be out in public and, you know, continue on with my normal life and then be part of the problem that is overwhelming the hospitals, you know? Yeah. And I think that that's that's like my brain right now is like, well, I need to do my part because I don't want to be part of the problem. Right. But the problem isn't getting the virus and having it and getting help. It's doing your part beforehand, I think. But I hate going to the doctor. I hate going to the, you know, any of that. I got strep throat a few months ago, and that was the first time I'd been to the doctor in probably like, I don't know, 6 years, you know, 5 years. Like it'd been a long time. Like I don't go, like it's, unless I'm in serious pain or something, you know. I guess I had gotten some stitches before, but like actually going to the doctor because I was sick, like strep throat, you know, it's been a long time. And I think the last time I went to the doctor was like 5 years for strep throat. So it was like the same thing. But like, my point is like, I don't really go to the doctor that often, but I don't think you should feel guilty for going to the doctor and going to the ER because you had an illness and you got sick and you contacted, you know, COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's just part of the deal, you know. We want everybody to be healthy and get better and be well, so.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't go, though. I mean, I'm glad that I got tested and knew that it was that, because I think being here in New York, everyone kind of is worried, like, oh, I have a little bit of a cough. Is that it? Right. And like, I didn't want to think that I was just like going crazy and just imagining all these symptoms. And I don't know. It's nice to have some sort of validation that I was actually as sick as I thought I was.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
So you made that decision. What day was it that you made the decision to go to the hospital? Do you remember?
So that was on Sunday.
Yeah,
following Sunday.
And you go. This is a question. I know we're digging into weird details here, but did you just walk? How did you get to the doctor?
I just walked. Okay. The hospital isn't too far from me. It's probably like 8 blocks, and in New York, I feel like everything's pretty close. So and no one really has cars, so
right.
It was walkable.
But that's like the question, I guess, at least like where I live, I'm like, well, what if you don't have a car? Like, what if you know, like, what do you do? Like, I guess you talk to the people and you call somebody or you call 911 or something and they'll figure it out. But I'm like, dang, like, you don't want to get other people sick. Like, what do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here, like when I was walking, I felt like I had to be more than the 6 feet apart that they say, because I was, at that point, I was like,
I have it.
95% sure I have it, you know? Yeah. It's like, I really don't want to give it to anyone else. So I felt like I had to walk in the middle of the street to get away from everyone. But yeah, if you didn't have a car or if it was too far, like I guess someone would probably have to take a taxi or Uber, which doesn't seem safe because you're putting someone else's life in danger too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's scary. I think of those things and, those socioeconomic kind of issues that definitely propel, and we're hearing a little bit more about, I think, in the news and from like Dr. Fauci, however you say his name. I believe I got it close. We've heard some of those things, and they're definitely something to. I hope that when we get on the other side of these, that we can really examine that and look at some of those different issues that have reared their head at us, throughout this. Definitely some glaring issues in our country, that are showing themselves, and I think that it's good. I think it's going to help us make better decisions and make better progress on some of those different issues for sure.
Yeah.
So Sunday, you made the decision. You went to the ER. You walk into the ER. How did that go?
To be honest, it was a lot less crowded than I thought.
Sure.
It would be. I walk in and he has me put on a mask right away.
Yeah.
And I just had to wait for a little bit. After I waited, I went through and got my vitals taken, and then they put me in a room. They closed the door, and they put a sign on the door that says, "This is someone that possibly has COVID. Don't enter without any protection."
Sure.
Like that type of sign. And I had to wait there for a while. And then after a bit, someone walked in to administer the test, and he was, dressed up in like all the gear, which seems strange, but I guess that's what's needed.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they had the resources for it.
Sure.
And the test itself really sucks. I would not want to ever do it again because they have to swab way back up your nasal cavity.
Yeah.
And it hurts so bad.
And I think that's changed since maybe you were tested. They've gotten.
Oh, really?
They've made some progress, I believe, and I think that's what's really helped in New York and helped in other places to speed up testing. Because and please, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional. I read the same stuff that everybody else does, so I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty positive that things have changed, and they found that they don't have to go as deep in. They can just swab the nose. They can actually, and I believe what they're doing now is they're handing the individual the swab so that they don't have to use all those materials all the time, but they can hand that off. And what I had heard was that because they had to go so far up into like the back of your throat, up into your nose, and like all the way in the back, it was causing people to cough, which is because of the garb, right? Like that's what they wanted to have people protected, because the testing was causing people to cough and, basically spread the virus to our health professionals and staff. And so, one of the big advancements, I believe, with testing has been they can just hand you the swab. You can swab your own nose, deep in there, but not as deep as they were having to go. And basically self-test without having to expose so many people to the virus, which I think is a big progress. And then I think that there are even more advancements that are coming. I know I've heard stuff about testing people, for antibodies and whatnot. They've got like a blood test, I believe. They can do that instantly now, like know if you've actually been exposed to it in the past, if you think you had it. So those different types of things. But I mean, again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not giving medical advice, or I don't know, I guess 100%, but that is something that I've read and heard that, and I believe, Dr. Fauci has also mentioned that in some of his talks. So, which is a positive thing for everybody from the sounds of things.
Yeah, it would be great.
Did you have those experiences? Did you cough? Did you have that
no, I don't think I coughed when he did it. I think I might have cursed at him.
Yeah.
Because it really hurt.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't cough though. He had me keep my mask over my mouth. That was probably in case I did cough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I coughed.
How did did you? What's going through your head when this guy walks in with all the protective gear on and is is that like a relief? Is it kind of like you're like, I'm glad you're taking care of yourself, but it also kind of feels like you're the science fair project?
Yeah. It kind of felt weird to be like so quarantined, I don't know. It felt very strange. And when the guy walked in, he kind of seemed annoyed, and maybe I'm reading into it too much. But it seemed like he was annoyed that I would come in like I look healthy. Probably like at that point with the ups and downs, like I was feeling fine at that point, which kind of sucked. Like it would have been nice if I was going through a down point. Sure. When I had gone in, but like I felt fine and I probably looked fine, and I'm younger, and he probably thought like it was just like why is this young guy in here? Or maybe that's just what I was thinking in my head. Of projecting that. But he did seem kind of annoyed, and he didn't seem happy. Maybe it was because he's overworked. I don't know. Yeah. And so like I felt like when he walked in with all that and like had kind of that attitude, it felt like I wasn't welcome. Probably just because maybe it's because I did have it, and they didn't want me to give it to anyone else. But yeah, it's just the whole thing was kind of a weird experience. Overall, because of the mixture of him being in all the gear and yeah.
Did you feel that way, of even just entering in outside of that? Did the hospital have that vibe? Did the ER have that vibe of like?
No, not at all. Okay. Actually,
just that individual, maybe.
Just that individual did. Everyone else, the front desk guy was super nice. The lady that took my vitals, she just seemed kind of rushed, but not really. She just seemed overworked. Yeah. The other guy didn't seem overworked, but he just seemed kind of, I don't know. Just give me that vibe.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I can't imagine. I've got friends in the healthcare industry and in nursing. One of my best friends, he's a nurse in Minnesota, and he. Man, I mean, they're not really experiencing what New York or any of that, and he's not even in that area, but all the, I don't know, there's a scary fear-based undertone from what he's described throughout, in the hospital, just in general, in the medical field. And I think that, I think it's just a scary thing. And I think there's just so many unknowns that I think people, everybody's different. Everybody responds to stress and to that anxiety and to fear differently. And we're human. And I think that that's definitely, who knows, right? Who knows what was going through that guy's mind? Who knows what he'd had to deal with if he had been there for 24 hours or, how long he'd been there. Exactly. But it's hard to tell. It's just interesting to note. I mean, those are all things that affect how you, respond and how your brain kind of feel. And I think that especially in those unknown situations, I think we're always kind of like trying, it's like a bat echoing, it's like you want that reverberation off of like, oh, is everything okay? And so you're constantly putting your feelers out. Like, are we okay? Like, how am I? Like, am I going to make it? Like, what's going to happen? And it's scary. So.
Yeah. And eventually like another, the nurse practitioner came in. She was super nice. Like she had talked to me, and she like went through all my symptoms again and said that I probably had it again. And she prescribed me an inhaler, which was nice for the breathing issues.
I haven't heard anything about that. Yeah, like inhalers, which is interesting.
Yeah. And on the way out after I talked to her, I saw the guy again, and he did seem nice again. So I think that, maybe I just caught him at a bad time at first, or I don't know what it was, but he did seem nice. I just wanted to make sure I said that.
Yeah, of course.
Because, like you said, you don't know what's going on with them.
Man. Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
So they did the test. How long does it take at that time? I think this is another thing that's made progress. I think they can get tests that are coming back within like 5 to 10 minutes now, but I'm assuming that wasn't the case at the time.
No, not at all. When they took the test, they said it was going to be 7 to 10 days.
Dang.
And I was kind of shocked because it seemed like I'd probably be better by then.
Yeah.
But it actually ended up just taking 2 days, which is still not as fast as 5 minutes, but
right. Yeah, and
better than 10 days.
Yeah, again, I could be wrong on that, but I do believe it's sped up and it's a more immediate response. They don't have to wait as long. So they have made some progress since you were there with that. What happened next? You got prescribed an inhaler. She talked through all those different things. She felt that it was as well. What happened?
So after that, they just had me leave.
That was it. Yeah.
I had the prescription, so I had to pick that up the next day, which I felt bad that I had to
go out again
and get it. But I needed that, and it did help out a lot, the inhaler, actually.
Yeah.
Anytime I felt like I was having breathing problems, I would use it, and it actually did help out. So I'm glad I got that. Yeah.
Cool. And then, so this is, Monday you got the prescription. And how many days, after that did it take for you to kind of finally get back on your feet? And you said 2 days you got the official word that you were tested positive. How did that all go as well?
So, the call was a lot sooner than I thought. It was on that Tuesday, and she kind of told me, I was positive, and that's like what the next steps are. Basically, when I stop feeling symptoms, then after that, like within 3 days, I can go out into the world and just be careful, because they still don't know how it spreads, or if someone that is over it can still spread it. Basically, I could go out and go to the grocery store, just try to avoid touching things as much as possible, still stay 6 feet away. But she wanted me to stay in my apartment until like the 2 weeks from the first symptom.
So 2 weeks from that March 16th.
Or if I had symptoms past that, 3 days after that. So yeah.
Got it. Wow.
Yeah.
So you just kind of hung out inside. Did you notice things start to get better? How long did, the cough and the fever last for you?
So at that point, I think the last fever I had was the Saturday before, like the night before I went and got tested.
Yeah.
Or the night before. And then I still had symptoms up until Thursday. That Thursday. So I was still I was just basically resting a ton still and just sleeping a lot. I got my taste and smell back, I think, around Wednesday, which I believe it was around Wednesday. From what I read, that's kind of fast. Some people have it a lot longer.
Yeah.
And like I said, it still had those ups and downs. And so Thursday I was feeling great Thursday night, and I was nervous that I was still going to feel like crap on Friday, but the next day on Friday, I still felt fine, 100% better.
Yeah.
A little bit of a cough, but I felt great. And then after that, I just didn't have any other symptoms.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's like what you want to hear, right? Like that's how the system's supposed to work. That's how this is supposed to go. And did you find out were there questions about like kind of mapping who you've been in contact with, and some of those different things throughout this process?
No, actually, they probably should have done that, but no.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, actually, I take it back. I think they did mention like 3 days beforehand, because I did ask them about that, if like I should contact anyone.
Yeah.
But I had actually hung out with a friend of mine the Friday before I got it.
Yeah.
And he actually ended up getting it as well and tested positive as well.
Sure. Was he the only one that you know of that you've came in contact with to get it, or was there anybody from work that also?
Yeah. No, he's the only one. I actually know quite a few people that have had it.
Yeah.
But out of people that I've had contact with, he's the only one.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where we got it, but we both ended up with it.
Well, and that's the thing.
And that's why,
like we talked about, like you could have gotten it just walking down the street in New York. Like it's hard to tell. It's not like you can necessarily run from it in some ways, and with the way you operate your life, on a normal basis. So. Yeah,
and at that point, no one had talked about social distancing or anything, so people were just walking close. And nothing was closed at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. You mentioned that you do know quite a few people that have, contracted COVID-19. Would you say that most people in New York are the same way? I mean, 160,000, there's millions of people that live in New York. Right now in Florida, we just surpassed today 17,000 active cases. And, I don't know anybody down here. I don't know what those numbers are. I don't know, it's still a lot of people, and we're going up about 1,000 people every day, it seems like. But yeah, you, like I said, you're one of the first people, and I'm sure there's other people that I know. I know quite a few people in New York, but I don't know of other people that have contracted COVID-19. So, do you stay in touch with those people? Were you able to talk to them, or any conversations with people kind of encouraging, or, or are people doing okay that that have contracted it? What's been the situation with all of that?
So with a lot of the people that I've talked to, they didn't get tested because the tests were hard to come by, or they thought that they were hard to come by. And the only other person that I know that actually went and got tested and was positive was the friend that I was with.
Sure. Yeah.
That Friday. But a bunch of my friends had all the same symptoms as me, like the loss of taste and smell, and like the ups and downs, the fever. But like some of them had it way worse, way longer, like up to 3.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, we've all I think everyone just kind of kept in contact around that time, and still in contact with. I have some friends that currently, I believe, have it. And like, it's just kind of scary because you don't know how it's going to affect that person.
Yeah, for sure.
I've had a friend of mine pass away from it with no underlying issues, and he was in his early 40s, I believe, and he just passed away in his sleep. And so, like, you don't know if that's going to be you. You know what I mean? So it's kind of scary, or if that's going to be your friends.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to react with
your body.
So,
yeah.
And so I think just keeping in contact with friends has been very important.
I agree. I think that's one of the cool things, my close friends, we do this anyway, with or without a pandemic. We're all over the place. I got one of my best friends in Indiana, the other best friend is in Minnesota, and I've got friends in Utah. I've got friends everywhere, but we tend to stay in touch in general as well. But I've just noticed yeah, I don't know. It's just more acceptable. It's not this big thing, you know, like texting used to be this thing. Like you didn't text people or how you message people or whatever, but now it's like video, you know, it's like, it's always been around, but it's been still one of those, like I feel like you have to be like close enough to do a video chat with somebody, you know, and I think that barrier is slowly going away throughout this process too, of kind of like, yeah, I don't know, just staying in touch and checking in on people, you know, and making sure everybody's doing okay.
Yeah. It's been nice. I mean, it's good to have that connection, even if you're not sick. It's nice to have a video chat because everyone's stuck at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I work from home. You know, I do podcasts. I work on CrazyFaceUno from home, and it's not out of the realm of possibility for me to be home all week and not really go anywhere, you know, and stay at home and do stuff. And but my wife and I like to do things on the weekends, you know, and like get out, and it kind of breaks up your week. And I've noticed that, yeah, my life hasn't changed all that much, but the fact that we don't leave the couch or we don't really leave that apartment outside of walking our dog, like it's playing with my mind, man. It's playing with my mind. I'm like starting to twitch a little bit, you know, like, like I gotta get out of here. But yeah, I'm sure that's the way it is. Do you notice, I mean, in New York, is there a camaraderie? Is there a unifying feeling about?
Yeah, there definitely is. I kind of live in like a quieter part of town.
Yeah.
I'm near the river, so I don't experience this as much, but at 7 p.m. every night, everyone claps for essential workers.
Nice. That's the time change, right? That's sort of the shift change.
Yeah, when there's normally a shift change. And so it just feels cool to have this like unifying thing that brings us all together.
Yeah.
I like seeing it on social media, and it has reached down to my apartment the last few days, so cool. Hopefully I'll hear it again tonight. But
yeah, that's really cool.
I think it's a good way for us to all blow off some steam too, because we're all stuck in our apartments.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, trying to think of, you know, maybe some other questions just specifically pertaining to COVID-19. Anything that comes to mind that, you know, you want people to know, or you think it's important for people to know? Experiences just in New York and yourself. I mean,
yeah. I would say take social distancing serious.
Yeah. Because
if I would have like started doing that earlier, I wouldn't have gotten it, I'm sure. Yeah, I would say that's the first thing. I also think in general, like New York has become so quiet. Like it's very strange to walk around the city, because now that I am better, I still stay 6 feet away from people, but I go on walks daily.
Yeah.
But the streets are completely empty. Some of the streets that are normally packed with cars or people are empty. Like the stores are boarded up, or all the retail items in the stores are completely removed.
Yeah.
It feels like a ghost town, which is very strange.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very much not New York. And
right.
All the stores have signs saying we're closed because of COVID-19 until further notice. It's interesting being here. It feels almost like an apocalypse, like an apocalyptic movie type situation.
Sure. I mean, it's New York, right? I mean, New York is, you talk about Vegas being the place that never sleeps, but like New York, you know, it's like, it's New York. Like it's always busy. It's always hustling and bustling. And, you know, it's the hustle is real in New York, you know, people are out and about and doing things all the time, and it's a place to party. It's a place to have a good time. It's a place to make your millions and your fortune. You know, it's a place for family. It's everything. It's a little bit of everything. And for that to cease, you know, and just completely kind of stop is crazy. I don't think that, you know, I was listening to Dana White, the UFC president, talk about that too. He's like, if you would have told me, you know, that all of Las Vegas would shut down and would be a ghost town, I would laughed in your face, you know, like, no, never. And, I think it's interesting. It's important. It's something that we've never experienced before, which is mind-boggling. It's still surreal to me. I don't, it's real. I would be lying if I wasn't nervous about things. But it's still a little surreal. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very surreal. Yeah. And like just walking around the streets here, when I do go out, normally in New York, no one pays attention to you. They just walk by.
Yeah.
Now it's like everyone like looks at you like you have, like, what do you have? Like, you have the disease. And like they everyone like backs away.
Yeah.
Instead of like normally people just walk by, like hit you in the shoulder, type of thing.
I hated
but
that.
Now it's like, oh, I have to get away from you, whoever you are.
Yeah.
It's just,
you're like, I'm fine. I'm clean now.
Yeah.
You're good. Like,
yeah. And it's fun. Like, I've seen groups of friends hanging out on the street, but like all 6 feet apart, like drinking on the street or,
sure.
It's interesting. It's people are still enjoying their lives here, but in a different way and trying to stay safe while they're doing it.
Yeah. That's cool. I did think of another question. When you went to the ER, did you have to pay for anything?
Not yet. I don't know if I will have to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to. Like none of your COVID stuff that you had to, testing or anything. I don't think you're supposed to, but I just wondered. They took all your information still, just like normal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Is there any talk about blood donation as well? Like is that something that's happening in New York?
So there was like a thread going around about that, and I signed up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I read a news article that homosexual men can't donate their plasma, and I happen to be a homosexual man.
Yeah.
And so I was hoping to help out in some way and donate my plasma, which would have the antibodies in it. But I'm not sure if that's going to be a possibility because of that.
I had heard that as well, and one of the reasons I was asking was because of that. I mean, I didn't know if that was something that, you had a conversation with the medical, people, if that was something they were recommending to do, once you got that call or what that was like. Just so you know, CJ, I have heard that there has been some movement on quote protocol for that. I want to say I disagree with that idea that you, CJ, can't donate your plasma or your blood. I think that's ludicrous. I think that's crazy. But also, I think that there is some changes that have been made to some of those rules or whatever. So maybe something to check into. I don't really know, but I was just curious about that. If that was something that that people were encouraging, or the health system was encouraging, if you had issues with that or not. But
yeah, I think they didn't really say anything about it. It's something that I had just found on my own.
Yeah.
And I hope they change things around that I can help out.
Absolutely. I think it's silly that you wouldn't be able to, but
yeah,
everybody's unfortunately got their opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I think, as far as covering, your experience, I think we've really gone through that pretty thoroughly. And, I don't know if there's anything else, we've kind of covered everything. I think we'll kind of close things out unless you have something else to say, or, some other, anything else you want to talk about. But I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, I love being here. It was fun.
Yeah, I would love. I'm gonna hold your feet to the flame while I got you on air, but I'd love to have you back on and learn about your life and kind of stick to the CrazyFaceUno outline sometime. So we'll have to chat and see if we can make that happen if you're interested.
Yeah, that'd be great.
CJ, Christopher Hartley, I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story, sharing a part of your life, and being vulnerable with us throughout this experience that you've had with COVID-19, and your life in New York. I think it's informational for everyone, and gives people one. I think it allows people to kind of understand what you're going through and what it's like, and it gives people hope. You and friends and people that I mean, you're making it. It's okay. You're gonna come out on it. It's not easy, but have hope, people, and everyone out there. Like, we're gonna make it through this, and let's do everything we can to be stronger and better.
Yeah.
Christopher, thanks again. Appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate being here. It's been fun.
Everybody else, thank you for listening. I want to thank you all so much. Your contribution helps us share more stories like Christopher's and stories just like yours. Speaking of contributions, please visit Facebook, Instagram. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us a shout out. And if you want to go above and beyond, share the CrazyFaceUno podcast with your friends and family, or just random strangers on the street. We're welcome to everyone. Please visit CrazyFaceUno.com. Again, we're going to be donating all of our sales and donations to the World Central Kitchen. They're an organization that's doing some amazing work in New York and just around the globe. They're a really great organization. So if you feel the need and feel that urge to donate to them or buy something from our store, please do. It's going to go to a great cause. Thank you again for listening. We love you all out there.